Here again for the month of July. We've bypassed 2 hurricanes, and we've got Chris Tauzin and Mr. Tate and Mr. Norris. They're all on the Spanish Lake Commission. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Chris, tell us a little bit about what St. Martin Parish has done to help Lafayette.
Well, we finished up the second round of the Johnathan Canal. That project is complete. We're able to install those covers to be able to pass the water from the swamp that's off of Cypress Island Highway. That has helped a lot. A lot of projects in works, finishing up a lot of stuff. We got a few more that we're looking into getting done with CPRA and some other projects going to be happening pretty soon. One of the projects that's going on that's going to help with the water moving on there, Tate for Millions, redoing the locks at the root canal, that area. So that's a project that's going to help to be able to, transfer water. They're going to be putting in a temporary set of locks right now to be able to pass the water from the Tate to the Vermilion to keep the fresh water going and everything. And a lot of projects, a lot of things going on in St. Martin Parish. So we're pretty happy with what we've been able to accomplish.
Is that that thing on the Ruth Canal? Is that the Tate for me?
That's the Tate Vermilion project. It's a project with Mr. Donald Segura and his commission. They're working on that right now. I think they just did the one. I think this is that third set of locks that they're redoing. I think they just finished the second one in Iberia on Lake Dotrieve. Is it Lake Dotrieve where they have a set of locks?
No, it's a gate.
It's a gate. Well, the gate project. I think they just finished that one, and then they're going to be starting on this one real soon. So they should be happening next couple of months. We ought to see them start breaking ground right there and get some things done. So that should help to keep the fresh water coming in, and we use that area to be able to move water in and out during the hurricanes and stuff when we slow the pumps down and move water through Tate and the Vermilion. So Joe Day project was a good project. It helped out. We were able to accomplish a lot by that project.
Yeah, and the theory is you're moving the flood out of Cypress Island to Lake Falls Point,
Yeah.
which is essentially sea level. It's about 20 miles trip. Going down to Abbeville, it's about 55 miles to the bay, so. And so that's functioning real well.
I know another project we're looking into, that they're looking at seeing about getting some funding and maybe some partnership with Lafayette on is a Coulee LaSalle project. So I think that's another project that St. Martin Parish can partner up with Lafayette on and try to see if we can get that project underway. I think it would help relieve some of the flooding they're having around the Cade, Broussard, Youngsville area. We kind of help with some of that area there. So it's another project that we just getting in the works right now. Just it's in conversation right now. So we'll see where that one goes.
So tell us about Spanish Lake.
So Spanish Lake,
How many members on the commission?
we're a 7-member commission. 5 members are from Iberia Parish and 2 members are from St. Martin.
And most of the lake is in Iberia Parish.
Most of the lake is in Iberia Parish. All the road frontage is in Iberia Parish. So this commission was formed, I guess, originally in the 90s, whenever the lake was drained initially, and it was formed as an advisory committee to advise LDWF and the 2 parishes on, I guess, the things that needed to happen. And the commission kind of went quiet for a while, and up until about a year ago, we have a few new members on the commission. So we spent the last handful of months here getting up to speed and educating ourselves as to the issues of the lake, and now we're doing our homework on trying to figure out what we can do to fix them. The biggest issue that the lake sees is this large sediment deposit. Some folks will call it a peat. Like we were talking before the show, there is some records of peat being pulled out of the lake and sold. But fish reproduction and low oxygen levels are both affected by this real soft sediment that's at the bottom of the lake. So currently, what we're doing is waiting on LDWF to locate the funds to do the initial phase of a restoration project, which would be a complete survey of the lake bottom. That would tell us how deep, where these spots are, how deep they are, and give us an idea of how much is there. Also, pull some samples and actually get a makeup of, you know, what elements or what the material is actually made up of, and what would be the best way to try to remove it or try to shrink it or lessen it or whatever we can do.
You know, for a lake to be productive, you need at least 5 acres draining into it for each surface acre.
Oh, wow.
So, what is it, 1260?
Yeah, 1260, so you need that times 5. That's it's a lot of acreage. I'd be willing to bet we don't have near that draining into it.
No.
Which can be a problem. The only water feeding into the lake to give it any kind of flow is drainage water. So if there's no rain, then there's no flow in the lake. And then even worse, especially if we encounter some of these dry summers like we've been having, you can lose 6 inches, a foot of water in the lake, and you have to get that much rain to even fill it up before you start to get a flow again.
Does it have an overflow somewhere?
Yes, sir. On the in the levee, it would
On
be
the
on the
east
St.
side.
Martin, on the St. Martin
Yeah,
side,
on the
right?
east side,
Would be
yes.
a spillover.
That
A
would
gate.
flow into the Jude Canal.
That flows into the Joe Day Canal that meets up with the Bayou Teche.
Yeah.
Right.
Originally, the original plan in the 50s, when they first put the ring levee up, was to pump water from the Joe Day Canal to keep the lake full. But some of the wildlife and fisheries biologists believe that would introduce unwanted fish into the lake, and that which might create a problem. But the pump is no longer functional, and so that whole infrastructure would have to be rebuilt. The other source could be wells, but there would have to be, I think it was Stam Shield did a survey in the late 90s and said it would take 3 10-inch wells and that seems financially not feasible either to use them or to drill them or operate them, and what that would do to the water table.
Have you all applied for Wallenboro funds?
For what funds?
Wallenboro.
Waterbrook funds?
No, we have not.
Each parish can get a project a year. And I think St. Martin Parish was the last Wallenboro project you went.
Man, we hadn't done one, I think it's probably been 5 or 6 years since we did a project like it. I think the last project we did was in a basin project.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was Buffalo Cove land,
Yeah, Buffalo Cove.
and you got 2 parishes, so,
Right.
and you have to put up a 25% match, but usually the real estate does that, you know.
And the lake's owned by the state. The state owns the lake itself. So, you know, if we could apply for some grants or get some funding like that, we could probably get some help with the match money on it. Or the 2 parishes could split up the match money if we had to put up the match money for it.
When did they build the levee around?
The mid-50s.
56, 58, some in that area, in that time. And the plan then was, of course, to, keep the lake refreshed with the water from Joe Day Canal. However, the pump fell into disrepair and was never fixed.
Yeah.
The state land office has a map on their wall that shows that lake and the high water mark around it. And the high water mark is way beyond the levees.
Oh.
Was it?
Well, in the flood of 2016, water was flowing was flowing over the levee on the north end and flowing through the lake and was exiting over the levee in the south and the east. It was a 2 or 3 mile an hour current just going through there. And it came up into the yards of several of the residences. They came up onto Johnathan's property and my property back there.
Yeah, in the 90s, they drained it, and they did some work on the levee, and then I guess they used some heavy equipment to scrape up some of this sediment and make these crow's foot levees throughout the lake. But over time, that material has just kind of washed back into place. So it's you can drain it and rearrange it, but it's going to go back into place. You're going to have to figure out a way to get it out of there to give the lake a hard bottom to help with any kind of fishery.
We've had some discussions with wildlife and fisheries about draining the lake. Just drain it, let it sit, and after a certain amount of time, it'll settle and it'll back down. But,
the advantage of draining it, you consolidate the bottom.
right,
Right.
Right,
You make the bottom
Right.
solid,
right.
and I think, what's the big lake by Ville Platte? They fought that drain down, fought it and fought it and fought it, and they finally drained it down. And, it did a couple of things. One, it consolidated the bottom.
yeah. And I think they got it on a schedule where they do it every 4 years now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Drawdown.
drawdown every 4 years, they do a drawdown
Yeah.
over there.
That's one thing that's on the table, right, with LDWF, is something like this. I think what makes this lake a little bit challenging with the drawdown is it's hard to draw it down if it's only a average of 3 foot, 4 foot, right? It's pretty much a drain, draw all the way down.
And then refilling it.
And then refilling it is the problem. But according to the biologists with LDWF, that matter that's at the bottom is over 75% water. So if you take that material out and dry it up, it reduces by 75%. There's a lot of questions we get is, well, just dredge it, just get some equipment in there and move it. But if you do it when it's wet, that's 4 times, 4 times the material that you have to remove or move somewheres versus if you let it dry out.
yeah.
Jody David said his original plan was to draw the lake down, as Chris said, on a regular basis. And of course, as
Yeah,
as
and
that
then
organic matter oxidized and as it compacted, and you would just, that would be an ongoing
Every year,
process.
or every 2 years.
Every 2 years,
Yeah.
every couple of years. In Henderson, they drawing it down just about every year right now. But in Henderson, the reason for the drawdown, it was with a hydrilla at the beginning, but now the hydrilla is pretty much under control. We have very little grass left in Henderson. The problem we have over there is the giant salvinia. That's the biggest issue in the lake right now, is trying to manage that giant salvinia. But we don't have salvinia or hydrilla and nothing like that inside of the lake in Spanish Lake. So if you could draw it down, if that option is the only one that's available, if we get to the point where we could draw it down, let the matter settle, like Johnathan said, you get 70% of it comes out because it dries out. Then you might be able to get in there with some equipment and maybe remove what's left of it.
See,
But at some point in time, you're gonna have to do a dredging project, or you're gonna have to get this stuff
Lake
out of there. You
Chico.
can't leave it in there.
Lake Chico, they fought that, and they successfully fought it. And when what was happening in the tree areas, the lake, the bottom of the lake was so porous that when the fish laid the eggs there, they would sink.
Oh, wow.
So the brim and the bass, but their fisheries production has increased on something like 1,000%.
A lot of people don't understand that, but that tail fin on the back of that fish, it's gotta have a hard bottom to be able to cool his eggs down, to keep them eggs right to be able to hatch. If they don't have a hard bottom in a lake, you ain't gonna get a good hatchery.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's why Henderson, when they started draining it, and I'd like to see them go maybe like to every 2 years, or instead of doing it every year, I'd see if it'd be possible to, where we could start, now that we have the hydrilla under control. But when we get some good years where we get a good hard bottom in the lake and we can drive those north flats and south flats up pretty good, the following year, you always just suckle your bass, you always have a good hatchery that year, because it develops that hard bottom, and it allows those fish to have a good season. So that's the biggest problem right now over there. But, you know, we had a little fish kill in it last year,
Yeah,
and when they came back and ran the numbers on it, like the suckling numbers were really, really good.
yeah,
And it was hard to believe, and I think, there was like 2 or 3, I think the catfish was good in it, and the bass wasn't bad neither. But it's hard to believe those numbers, those fish can sustain that with that bottom the way it is inside there. But that's why it's just, if we could get that lake put back to its, not maybe back to its original state, but if we could get it back to where we could refurbish the lake and get a hard bottom in and get that stuff out there and deepen the lake to where we could maintain about a 5-6 foot bottom on it. And that lake could be a gem to Louisiana. It's you know, it's a historical piece of
yeah,
land that's been there for a long time, and I hate to see it go to waste.
yeah. The other thing I like about it is, when you look at the lake on the map, you've got the strip on 182, that's all private property. But that entire ring levee, which, what did we say, was it 4 miles?
6 miles
Six
around
mi-
it.
6 miles on the levee, so that's all public accessible for anybody to go fishing or go to the edge of the lake, right? There can't be that many lakes in Louisiana that has that much shoreline, public access shoreline frontage, so, like, you know, like he was saying, if we could get fisheries to take off on there, it would be, you know, and it's real local, it's not a far drive for either St. Martin or for Iberia residents.
is there
to
a
go
way
to.
to drain it down?
Yes,
Yes, yes.
Yes. there's a gate control structure, you just pull the sheet out, and it'll spill the water.
So we
It's
could,
getting it back in is the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we even looked at, the LDWF has also looked into, if we do that, bringing in some kind of temporary pumps. You know, I'm sure, I don't know if they would power them with electricity or diesel, but, doing that to pump in from Joe Dake. But again, it needs a natural water, regular water source, pumping water into the lake to give it some current, give it some flow. If not, it's just dead water.
Well, how is the oxygen doing that?
the oxygen is, in the summertime, the oxygen, the DO is really, really low. Right after the fish kill, which was in April this year, the DO was in acceptable levels up in the upper part of the water column, in the upper part. But down deep, it's, you know, it's catfish, you know, only catfish can survive down there, so. And I think that's why it's so susceptible. Any kind of storm or disturbance that would, you know, if you have a drought like it is now, we have low water, and then you get a blow. Now that all the bird's foot levees are gone, there's nothing to, you know, to keep the wind fetch from stirring the water up. And, you know, that anoxic water comes to the top and just sucks the oxygen out.
How many wells would it take to fill that lake?
What did LDWF say? Was it 3 10-inch?
3 10
3 10
inches.
inches what they put in the proposal if they could do a total renovation of the lake, right?
And that's not, you know, one of the concerns that we raised at the commission meeting was, what would this do with pumping that much water, you know, with a 1,200 acre lake? What would that do to the water table? You know, I'm on a well at the lake, and so, I mean, you know, most of us are on wells around there, so
Yeah.
what would it do to our water supply?
How's your water quality in your well?
Oh, it's good, yeah. We have, you know, we're up on the remnants of the Coteau Ridge runs along the, you know, runs
The
along
railroad
that,
track.
yeah. And so, you know, we're up pretty high. We're right at 30 feet. And so, you know, my well, I think is 75 feet deep. I don't know, Jonathan, you all have, you know, what the depth is?
Yeah, at the most it's that deep.
Yeah.
The one we're operating off of now, I'm not sure. I don't, but I did take one down. It wasn't 75 deep. It was probably
Right.
closer to 60.
60, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't take much.
You know, I guess what we're trying to do, Mr. Harrell, is we're trying to bring public awareness to this. You know, when you talked about Lake Chico and what it means to that area, I can tell you, like in St. Martin Parish, we got a jewel sitting right in the middle of us with Lake Morton. You know, a lot of people take advantage of Lake Morton. They use it for kayaks, they use it for duck hunting, they use it for fishing. Brim fishing has been really, really good lately in Lake Morton. If you haven't hit it by now, you probably missed out, because it was a few weeks ago they were doing really good in there. But it's a beautiful area. The birds come in every year and all. I believe what you have in Lake Morton, you could have in Spanish Lake. I believe you had it at one time. It's just a matter of bringing the lake and restoring it back to where it needs to go. So I guess our purpose for coming on the show, when I was on the show last week, when I talked about, was just to bring public awareness and see if we could get people to reach out to kind of help, to maybe we could see where we could find some funding, or where we could maybe give us an idea where we could go besides, Department of Wildlife and Fisheries is heading the project right now, but I can tell you, any help that we could get from natural resources, anything that could put funding in it to make some match money
You
would
could
help.
see the water broke covering the price of those wells.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the model that LDWF is using is a model of renovation that they used at Bussy Break in North Louisiana about 6 or 7 years ago in the late teens. And they completely renovated that lake, and it was 2,300
Yeah, it was
acres.
bigger.
And it has been a economic shot in the arm for that area. And they have national fishing tournaments there now. And so they completely redid the bottom. They built boat launches, and they put, to solve the oxygen problem, they put in aerators. And so they aerate the water. And so, it can be done, and Wildlife and Fisheries have done this before.
Well, that success can apply to Spanish Lake.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Ms. Sarah, when you were real active with the Boy Scouts, did y'all use Spanish Lake at any time with the Boy Scouts?
No.
There was never used for that? Cause I could see where we could bring the Boy Scouts in, it could be used for that program, for different things too, There's just so much that lake has to offer. It's just, I don't think we've ever taken advantage of the prosperity they could bring. So, I was always wondering, I know you, at one time you were real heavy with the Boy Scouts, that's why I was wondering.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a going because they even sell in the camp,
yeah.
Boy Scouts,
The camp where?
Camp Mountain Bite,
Mm.
it's next to Chico.
I'll be,
The Boy Scouts also had some camps somewhere in Lake Dotrieve, right?
they have an area,
A
yeah.
little ways away from Fossey Point.
Yeah, not
State
far
Park.
out on the, more towards Sandy Cove, I think, around that area,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then they also had that project going on in Henderson with McGee's Landing, where they were gonna
Yeah.
set up for the Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whatever happened, if that's still in the works or,
Yeah, they finished,
yeah.
they're having some big event there in October.
They just built a big old pavilion, it's pretty nice, new boat launch. They did a lot of work over there.
Yeah,
Originally they were supposed to do a project in Catahoula, when you cross the bridge on the right-hand side.
yeah,
That was supposed to be an area that was gonna be developed, and that's what it was gonna be for the Boy Scouts.
yeah. They couldn't get that ball rolling.
No,
But I think the state park was supposed to be right there.
yeah. And it ended up-
Nobody built roads in there.
That was before Lake Fossey Point?
Yeah,
The roads are still there.
yeah, they're there.
Yeah, I think the Boy Scouts still use that area for something.
Yeah, they do.
Because every year, I don't have, before we did reapportionment, Catahoula was in my area, it was part of my district. And the guy that would, with the, Boy Scouts would always come every year, and we give him a set of keys, he'd get with me. And then we let him use the cooler so they could put all their cold stuff in there. Cause it was right before, I think Bayou Alexon, to the right, on that side right there, they had a little area that they camp and they do their kayaking and stuff, and they still come every year, so.
Yeah, yeah.
I just think there's some of that, if Spanish Lake, if we could get it to where it's, like Lake Morton or Chico or something, I think it's something the state could use for something like that, maybe.
Do y'all have property around the lake?
Yeah.
Well, there's private property on 182, and then on the other side of the levee, it's all wetland.
See, that was the old lake bed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
correct. But as far as the parish or the state having, I guess, extra property bordering the lake, there's not a lot there to be able to say. I mean, there may be some that would be able to be acquired to build something for the Boy Scouts or to do something, but existing land that's there now, there's not much there besides the levee.
So,
Maybe from the toe of from the crest of the levee, past the borrow pit. There's a canal basically around most of the lake where they borrowed, where they got the dirt for the
levee.
levee. But, the birds that come through there in the spring, the Christmas bird count, there's a team that they come and park in my yard every year and go around the lake that's one of their sites for the Christmas bird count. And the variety of birds that come through there. So, the lake has a, potential of being a site for for birders. We have, in the fall, we had a fellow and his granddaughter brought their horse trailer there, and they asked and rode around the lake. I think there's just a tremendous amount of potential for lots of activities there, and especially for people like me. I taught my grandchildren to fish there. And that's the first place they fished, and when they were little bitty tykes. So I think it's a place of a lot of potential.
And you live along the lake?
I live on the north end of the lake, and my place kind of adjoins Johnathan's there at the north end
how long you been there, Mr. Steve?
since 2008. But I lived on the other end of the lake from maybe 89 until 2003, and then moved off and then moved back.
I wasn't familiar, I was familiar with the lake, but I didn't know the history of it. I really didn't know a whole lot about the lake until, when I was on the council, we had to appoint 2 members, and it had been kinda inactive for a while. And David and them were getting, so me and, at that time it was Bar and Fusion that got on it. And we got involved and stuff, and, I like these water projects. Mr. Harold knows we worked on a lot of projects together and stuff in the basin and everything, and it was pretty interesting. And when I saw the potential what they have over there, it's just so much that could be done, so much, I mean, it's part of the culture down there, it's a history of the area.
I think drawing it down is really important,
Yes, yeah.
because your problem is, as long as, that bottom of that lake is just like Chico. And, as long as they got water in it, that's not gonna happen, that you're not gonna consolidate that dirt. That'll support fish laying eggs.
Yeah. We, I think Wildlife Fishing, they had gave us a recommendation about, well, Jody David had when he
Yes.
was there, but, a couple of meetings back then, somebody
Yes.
we had discussed and brought it back up, and they gave us a timetable of how long it would take to leave it dry, how long we have to let it sit for. It was a few years, I think, we did it, if we dried it out.
Right. And
Yeah.
24 to 36 months, I
Yeah.
think, it was something like that.
Yeah, I think the recommendation was at least 2 years to leave it dry, which it's, you know, then some property owners along it, they object to that, so,
Yeah.
it's a challenge to get things done sometimes, but, we'll keep working at it.
The problem with those things is Chester City used to love to talk about unfunded mandates.
Yeah,
And the state will give you projects and they'll give you commissions and they'll put you on boards and all, but they don't give you any money to do anything. And that's what we have with this thing right here. We have a commission, but our commission is just an advisory committee. We can make all that, and we can't do anything without any funding. So we need the funding and it belongs to the state. DOT owns the road, DOTD owns the road that goes around it. The only thing that Iberian St. Martin has, it just runs through our parish. We don't own anything on it, we don't have anything, we have an agreement to help maintain for the roads and stuff and everything, but it's another one of those deals with the state, it's just an unfunded mandate that we need to find funding for. And you would think, like, I keep going to that, back to that fact, but I mean, it's what Bayou Chico is, it's what Lake Martin is, I mean, it seems like somebody, somewheres in Baton Rouge would say, listen, it's worth saving, I mean, it's part of the history, it's part of the culture.
yeah,
It's not a man-made lake, it was a natural lake from what I understand.
yeah. I
Yes.
think they had a problem when they put the dam in,
Yeah,
because that's why they dried up by Tesh.
yeah.
And then the boats couldn't get to, that's why they built the Lowerville Canal.
Is that why the Keystone locks were put in?
No, it was,
No?
the Keystone Lock was put in because they needed to dredge the bayou. And at that time, they only had a bucket dredge. So they had it taken out, all the oak trees on one side. And then, so the Corps came up with a solution. To put the lock and dam in. And that raised the water to, the head of navigation is Broke Bridge. So that raised the water high enough for navigation to take place.
So why were the levees put in at the Spanish Lake? Why, when they put the head in over there and they put the levees on the Spanish Lake, what was the reason for that?
I think it was to define the lake,
To define the lake itself?
yeah. That's what the state land office thinks,
Yeah. So before they put the levees, it would flow natural, the water would flow back into the lake itself?
yeah, yeah.
So basically, they did the same thing we did when we built the Henderson levees in 27 floods, after the 27 floods, where we cut off the water flow, natural water flow going in.
Well, Lake Martin was, I was on the with the Rod and Gun Club, the Hub City Rod and Gun Club. And Rex McCullough had gotten us $250,000 to build a levee around. And we couldn't afford to buy the right of way, so we surveyed the high water mark. And, because on a lake, the state owns up to the high water mark. And so we surveyed the high water mark, and then the National Guard and all these guys helped build a levee around the lake.
That would be,
Before the levee was built, that lake was fabulous. And it had leeches in it. Leeches, you'd go swimming and you'd come out, you had leeches all over you. But we were kids, we lived near it, and we'd go ride to Lake Martin and fish. The idea was in 1953, when that levee was built, the people didn't have boats. Outboard motors were, better have a big paddle, which,
yeah.
because the motors were not dependable. But, the idea was to give people a place to fish that they could drive up to. And getting back to, when you put a levee around, you got a 1-to-1 ratio, which never produces any kind of fish of value. Before the levee was built, you probably had a 500-to-1, that whole swamp would go into Lake Martin.
Right.
And so, and at first Lake Martin was fabulous, but then it tapered off.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at with it with the state, you know, it was a successful fishery, right? And then for whatever their reasons were for levying it off,
Yeah,
you know, to me, it's incumbent upon the state to get it back to
yeah,
what it was.
yeah,
You try to put back the natural flow of water as you can never put it back to what it originally was, but if you can get it pretty close, get the
Yeah.
water back to where it needs to be.
we had lunch with David Uval, and he was telling that they all hired them to fix that gate over there by Beulah Rose,
Yeah,
and they got it fixed now.
yeah, we spent some money, we got it, it's operable now. Before we used to, think it was in pretty bad shape, we would go out there and we had log jams and everything was piled in, and we'd get out there with the excavator, start with a cable, start pulling on those gates to open and close them, and now they're working properly, everything's good, so.
And they put a barrier to keep
Yeah,
logs from jamming.
jamming up and stuff in there, so it came out nice, it's gonna help for a long time.
But then you stuck with, you can only bring it down to what, 6?
So you can only come down to 6.2 or 6.3, I believe. So they had drained the lake down one year, and we had a dry season. And there's an Indian burial ground in the middle of that thing that we didn't know. I didn't know nothing about it. And apparently, some people found out about it, was digging up artifacts and stuff, and then so the Indian nation got involved and all. And so now we got to keep water above those Indian burial grounds. So now the lowest we can bring it down is to 6 foot. You know, when I was a young boy, my grandfather, we lived right there in Grand Anse, and we used to go to the levee, and he'd bring a little ice chest, and I'd carry the little ice chest, and he had put some cages out. By the time we get to the end, he'd drink a couple of beers, and we go back to the beginning, start raising the cages. When we get to the end, 3 hours, 4 hours later, we had 2 sacks of crawfish. But the lake would dry up every year. Me and a good friend of mine, we were in high school, we were kids, we lived up half mile from the levee. So we used to ride our bicycles to George Dupuy Bridge, and we'd go inside the levees, and we'd cut trails to get that duck blind we had in there. And we'd put our decoys, put everything out, we'd clean it with a cane knife. When the water would come up, and duck season was there, we'd go and we'd hunt. And a lot of the area's not even there anymore. It's all silted in and closed up, and it's just, that's the reason we're trying to do the Grimmett Canal project, to try to reestablish some of that water flow going through there. But so, and the reason I'm saying this is the same issues that we have with Lake Martin, the same issues we have with Spanish Lake. All these levels were built for flood, and for flooding issues, and they've been successful. But it cut off a lot of the natural flow of the water to the bayous. Lake Fossey Point's another one that suffers for it too, because of the water flow in. That's why if we could ever, have some kind of system to where we could get water coming in, additional water coming in, it would work out better. But I guess the funding, that's one of those unfunded mandates, so.
It's always about
Was
money.
Earl Long the governor in 53?
Yeah. Huey Long was governor in
No,
No,
Earl.
no.
Earl Long, yeah.
Earl.
Earl Long.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think probably the best path for y'all would be to plan a drawdown. And how quick can you drain it?
I think it'd go
Depends
pretty,
on the rain.
It would go pretty quick, it wouldn't take long.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take long.
We're having a rainy season this year right now.
Yeah,
You know,
little
that
bit.
El Nino, whatever they're saying, so
Mhm.
they predict a lot of rain this year. So this year might not be a good year to do it with a rainy season, but I'm sure if you could get like I would guess a couple of months they drain the lake out. I think it wouldn't take that long.
I would bet it'd be faster than
Faster
that.
than
And I say all that,
What kind of a head do you have on that? How much higher is the lake?
Maybe
the
right
surface
there.
of the lake to the surface of Joe Day Canal,
Yeah,
Oh, I'd say 15 feet. huh?
yeah,
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
Yes.
I would say the biggest thing that would slow the lake down is so much sediment. If you would start pulling that with it, if you would have problems
Yeah.
with that clogging up the gate as it comes through, right? Or I say clogging it up, slowing it down.
There's
But if
lots
it
of,
wouldn't be for that, it would drain fast.
and there's lots of trees in there.
Yeah, there is
There's a
some,
lot of
there's a lot of
trees,
wood.
because the last time we drew it down in '98, just a lot of brush, button bush, other, black willow, and, in fact, the states had to spray it, to kill it, and then all of that is still there. I mean,
Yeah.
and then what I'm afraid will happen when we drain it is all this will float up, and then it'll be carried into the gate, and it'll have to have a machine there to keep it clear.
Clearing it out.
If you do, I know like in Hanson, when they do the drawdown, like we closed gates last week because the water was flowing, it was coming out too fast. And if you get it too fast, it'll stir up the bottom, it create a fish kill, but not only that, it stirs that bottom up and you get a lot of movement of silt moving around. So probably right here, they probably have to figure out,
Control it.
control it to where we don't have a small amount of water going out at one time. That's why I said it would probably take a few months. 'Cause
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't just open the gates and just let it flow. They probably
Yeah.
would just crack them and let it kinda, to where that sediment just wants to stay where it's at and just go straight down, not move around very much. But it's an option. I mean, there's, the option is, coming there with a dredge and dredging it out and,
Yeah, but you can't dredge 1,240 acres.
It's a lot.
no,
A lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
yeah. And then what you do with all the sediment you take out, that's the problem. It's, sometimes the best thing to do is let Mother Nature take care of herself. She's hard to beat sometimes.
yeah. Right.
Most of the problems we have are all man-made problems.
That's correct.
Yeah.
We do it to ourselves.
We do it to ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, we losing the marshes because we impounded, same thing's happening around the basin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I've been on the Spanish Lake Commission since 2012, and this is the most optimistic and the most positive movement that we've had on this. We had we were going to drain it in 2016, and we started a drawdown in 2015. Then, and both parish councils approved of the drawdown. And they submitted that proposal to Wildlife and Fisheries, and they decided that they wouldn't drain it down, but they would go to this stocking program, a put and take stocking program. And so that would be a 5-year program. So we stayed with that from 2015, and then by 2021, COVID was here, and everything got really quiet. And so I guess this year was the first year we've really reconstituted this commission. And they've been, I have to say that these 6 members of this commission have been very faithful and
Very proactive.
and very active about trying to get things done and communicating with Wildlife and Fisheries about getting some movement on fixing Spanish Lake.
Because the key is getting a habitat that fish can reproduce.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, and we've been fortunate with the council. I know like in our parish, in St. Martin Parish, I mean, we've always, when Guy was there, Chester was there, and even now with Pete there, whenever they need help with something, we try to do what we can to try to help and put some funding and so forth. But the amount of money that's needed to do this project it's more than the parishes can handle.
Yeah.
And it's, at the end of the day, it runs through our parishes, but it's not the responsibility of the parish to maintain it or to keep it up. It sounds negative, it sounds bad, I wish we could fund it, but we just don't have the funding sources to be able to do it. And that's why the state needs to get involved and step up and pull their share to be able to get this thing done.
Well, to apply for Willowbrook, you have to put a plan together.
Yeah.
And the first step is, I would get somebody to draw up 3 wells do some research and
So.
see how much you need.
Yeah, so we kinda in that process right now with wildlife and fisheries, and they kinda drew some stuff up, put some stuff together, to give us an idea of what, give us different options. You know, if you dredged it, if you drained it, the funding, the costs. I think we agreed to put some money up to be able to do the study, to help pay for the study. The two parishes are gonna involve participation with the state to be able to get this done. So that's gonna give us an idea, once the study's done, it'll tell us, you know, how deep we need to go, how much sediment we have inside. It'll give us an idea what that bottom actually looks like before we get there, so. We have something going now, it's just a matter of seeing which direction we're gonna go. Whichever direction we decide to go, it's gonna be very costly, it's gonna take some funding, so.
Yeah, but it's an asset that's worth pursuing, you know,
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
That's why
absolutely.
we're doing it, yep.
Yes.
because it's a historical lake, you know, and, you know, it's well located between New Iberia and Lafayette,
It's right on the edge of everybody right here, so.
Yeah.
yeah, high ground, yeah.
So you were saying something earlier, Mr. Harold, about it was part of the Civil War, it was a camp that was there at one
Yeah.
time?
That was Camp Pratt, right?
Pratt, yeah,
Yeah,
I think it was a Confederate training group camp,
Mhm.
and who owns that property?
Shopwee family.
Shapley
Shapley,
family,
yeah.
yeah.
I think it's where the Chapuis had the property.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't there golden pheasant there too?
Golden pheasant, yes. Do you know about that, Mr. Scheffler? You were,
Yeah. It was a house of ill repute,
I've only heard rumors.
yeah.
yeah, well,
Yeah, they would get those girls from Arkansas. I remember one of my buddies, was selling cars, and he offered me one of those girls, you know. He had paid $1,000 for her, and she couldn't read cat was spelled dog.
that's what we should've worked on getting the lake redone, probably.
The history of that lake is, I mean, it's, somebody ought to write it down, you know. There should be a marker there.
Well, there's a marker there on Highway 182, and then down by the lake itself, there's a plaque there that describes the lake. And in 56, the original plan for the lake was a complete development. They wanted to buy up property around the lake. They wanted to put in not only boat rentals, they wanted to put in a residence, you know, for short-term visitors. They wanted to, you know, just do a complete development. And we actually have a copy of that 1950s, 56, 57 proposal to, you know, to just make, to develop the area
Yeah.
for recreation. Camping sites, but it never, you know, it never came to fruition.
Does the squirrel run, where does that fit around the lake?
It's on the back side, it's on the south side. And during the 2016 flood, there was so much water going through the lake. I had a call in the evening saying, from the parish president saying, has the levee broken at Spanish Lake? It's Squirrel Run is, they're afraid they're going to flood, and they're flooding, the water's coming up. Has the levee broken? And so, you know, I'm the members of the commission went out there and we couldn't drive. We walked around the lake, and that's when we saw that the levee wasn't broken. It was going over the
Over
top of the levee, you know, maybe over a foot high and just streaming through there. And of course, I was afraid as the water continued, it would break that southeastern corner of the lake has broken before. It broke in '85 and flooded downstream. But anyway, Squirrel Run, I think, is since they have kind of a protective levee around their north end now.
Yeah, Squirrel Run is the dead end of that old riverbed. So anytime water starts piling up in that riverbed, that's where it meets.
Yeah. Because the map that the state had of the original Spanish Lake, you know, it showed it went way into New Iberia.
Yeah.
Is the high watermark that determines who the ownership line, you know. They built the levee, and I think the state built that, and it was Governor Earl Long that was involved with that. And, you know, the state land office is so poorly run. But this land office claims that levee was built to screw the state out about half of the lake bed.
You where the property owners clean their properties.
Yeah, yeah. Because they had excellent records on it, because it was, you know, it was something that was affected by the building of the Keystone Dam, because that lowered the hell out of it.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get the boats to New Iberia, so that's when they dredged the canal into the basin. This was 1913.
Then after 27, when they started putting the levees up, they started cutting the flow of the waters out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for
Mr.
having us.
Shepard.
Thank you for having us, Mr. Howard.
How we doing on time? Good. So I want to thank you all. Y'all get paid?
It's for love of the game.
Love of the game.
You might get a thank you every once in a while. But,
Yeah.
those are
More-
few and far apart.
More blame than anything else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We get paid almost as much as you got paid all those years of work that you put in for all this.
yeah. Yep. The good Lord and the facts are with us.
Yeah.
Well,
It's the rewards that we get out of it, that when we can see these lakes get refurbished, or like the projects that we're able to do in the basin and get things done to where we can see, you know, see the rewards from it, that's payment enough. So
Yeah.
if we can see the same thing with this lake right here and get this lake to where it'll be here for our future, for our kids and grandkids, and, you know,
Well, I think you
leave
have,
it better than we took it.
Yeah.
you have an asset that's worth pursuing.
We either can have a beautiful lake with fisheries and be, you know, bring economic development to the area, and it's something for tourism and everything else, or
I
we'll
would
have the
think-
largest cesspool in New Iberia right there, one or the other. So we don't want that to happen.
Right.
I would think it'd be worth putting islands in the lake.
islands.
Islands, yeah.
Yeah, well, the plan, of course, is to put, you know, they'll put islands in the lake. They, you know, the preliminary, the plan that Wildlife and Fisheries came up with is a good plan. And, you know, they already have a model, as I said before, on Bussy Break. So if,
But you,
And that concept is proven over
the
there.
Right,
it's a
yeah,
it's
it
a
works.
proven concept.
Yeah, they know how to make it work.
I would encourage y'all to present, you know, go to your parish council with a proposal for Wallerboro funding. Wallerboro funding, they get about $60 million a year, And the most they ever have spent in a year is around 30 million. So any project that you put up, they're gonna fund.
You know, are you familiar with this,
I'm
Chris?
familiar when we did that one project, I've been on the council, we only used it twice. You know, I think we submitted
So
different
each parish
projects.
can get
Get
one
a year.
project a year.
Yeah. I think when the crawfishing, when Jody and all them were involved and everything, and Mike, I think we did a project back then, and then I think we did one on Buffalo Cove Landing after. And if I'm not mistaken, the project we did at, we did that elevation of the, boat landing, I think that was one of those projects,
Yeah,
15 seconds.
so.
thank y'all.
Well,
Thank you for having
Thank you for
us,
having us,
Mr.
Mr. Howard.
Sure appreciate it.
We'd like to come back if we could, if we come up with a plan, or we have something, we bring wildlife fisheries back with us,
5 seconds.
and maybe come back and see if we could introduce her on this show again.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
y'all.
you. All right.
Good program.